So Maura Healey is trying to dig her claws into the pension fund cookie jar. You know, imagine hiring an enormous amount of government employees, which she did, only to turn around and raid their own retirement fund to pay for it. She's not doing this because there's some kind of economic crash or something like that. And it just so happens, in my opinion, that when you try to save the world or save the planet with other people's money, inevitably you run out. And that's just the beginning of the story. This is what I learned over the weekend. For fiscal year 2027, for the budget, what they're attempting to do is they're attempting to target the state and teachers' pension system from 2036 and push it out to 2039. What that would inevitably do is it would allow them an additional 3 years to fund it or to pay it off. So if they did that, in theory, it would free up about $277 million in a single year because they clearly need it. Otherwise, why would they do this? Historically, this is what a lot of states do. This is not an uncommon thing. It is just uncommon to do it right now. That's the strange thing about this. Usually, like the last time we did it was under Deval Patrick. It was during 08, 09, and 2010. And that was the most aggressive time because we were in a financial crisis. It was one of the worst financial crises in modern history, basically. So the only difference between then and now is that then it was a genuine emergency. And at that given point in time, it was more than likely the time to use the emergency tools. But Healey is trying to do the same exact thing right now without the global emergency, which really got me thinking, okay? This really got me thinking. She's basically pulling a recession fire alarm when there's no visible fire. And to me, that means at least one of two things. Either the spending is so out of control that you need to pull the crisis lever or the crisis tools out just to survive, or that half of your taxpayers already moved to greener pastures and they took their money with them. But honestly, as I thought about this, it's a mixture of both. It is a mixture of both. We're not only losing money on the front end, right? But we're also spending too much on the back end. That's what's going on. She's spending like it's 2006 prior to the crash, and she's collecting like it's 2008 or 2009 during the crash. That's what's going on. This is a certified hostage situation. That's what it is. And your pension is the hostage. It is 100,000%. And what she wants to try to do is, while she's in one hand, while she's trying to stretch out the pension payments, that's what she's doing on one hand. On the other hand, they're trying to form something called the Mass Wins Act. Okay, that's what it's called, the Mass Wins Act. They want to take between $50 to $1 million from that same pension fund and put it into venture capital. So they want to use it so that more startups, Massachusetts will become more attractive to startups. Let me tell you something. If she wants to stretch out those pension system payments to government workers, and then when they retire, she also wants to gamble that money or a chunk of that money on startups. That's what's going on. Let me fill you guys in on a secret, okay? Especially if you're a startup, you're a founder or something like that, and you're watching this video right now. No amount of government incentives inside of Massachusetts is going to save you here. No amount is going to save you here. The only starting up you'll end up doing is the U-Haul truck. That's what's going to happen. That's a fact. We may be able to open businesses here, but we cannot keep them there. That's what's going on. And if you don't believe me, all you need to do is talk to the multitude of businesses that have left since she's been governor. That's the honest to God truth. Now, here's some crazy, let's talk about some of the crazy numbers I have here. You need to remember something. Since Healey took office, the state has added over 8,000 government employees. 8,000 jobs, 8,000 people at an average salary of $95,000 per person. That's around $760 million in new annual payroll. Now, and stay with me here. Those are 8,000 people whose jobs exist because of this administration. Their salaries come from the state budget. Their benefits come from the state budget. And their retirement comes from the pension fund that Healey is trying to stretch out by 3 years to cover the cost of hiring them in the first place. She literally wants to rob the retirement accounts of the people she hired to grow her own power base. That's what I think is going on here. That's not even a theory. That's just the math. It's like a contractor. Look at it this way. You know, I'm in real estate. That's like plus I was a contractor. It's like a contractor who builds your house, charges you twice what it should cost, and then uses your down payment to pay the guys he already owes from the last house he built. That's how simple this actually is. And that's how simple this looks to me. Okay. That is what is going on. And meanwhile, you could look at the private sector. Our private sector sucks. Okay. It's the part of the economy here that actually generates the tax revenue that basically funds a good part of the state. And that base is shrinking. Okay. That base is shrinking. Massachusetts is the bottom tier. If there was a tier list here, Massachusetts is at the bottom tier nationally for private sector job creation. Somebody needs to create not only a private sector job creation, but a private sector job removal, right? Which states are removing private sector jobs the fastest? Because I will almost guarantee you we would be at the top of that list. So we are bottom tier. We are bottom of the barrel when it comes to private sector job creation. Businesses are leaving and people are leaving. You know this. I cover this often. And they're gone. They go to Florida. They go to New Hampshire. They go to North Carolina. They're going to Texas. They're literally going to greener pastures. So this is a problem, right? This is a real problem. This is a tangible problem that they do not want to solve. But here's why I think they don't want to solve it, okay? This is like what I would call, I guess, a feedback loop of what is going on here. And this is a conversation that I just don't think Beacon Hill wants to even have. It's that when these private sector jobs continue to shrink, and they will, okay, they will, and the tax base continues to get smaller and smaller and smaller, what ends up happening is it leads to this inevitable budget pressure increase. But what Healey decided to do was that she decided to hire more government workers to fill the gap, which makes the pressure on the budget even worse, which makes you reach into the pension fund, which she is doing, which also makes the government workers you just hired upset, which brings you right back to the beginning, except now the hole is even deeper. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just this is a revolving door. That's what it is. It's basically the fiscal equivalent or the fiscal version of trying to put out a fire with gasoline and then acting surprised when your hair is gone or your eyebrows are gone. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what's really going on here. Look at it this way. What are they going to cut next? If they're digging into the pension fund during a time where statistically, we would dive into a pension fund during a legitimate advertised crisis. What are they going to get into next? That's the problem here. Listen, this is the last thing that I don't want to yap here forever. This is the last thing that I want to say. Massachusetts isn't currently, I don't think, falling into the ocean. We're not like California or something. Okay, at least we're not there yet. But how is it possible to think that you could run one of the most expensive, most taxed, most regulated states in America on good intentions? At some point, the cost of being here stops being worth it. How could we be the so-called most educated state in the country that consistently makes the most uneducated decisions? I mean, really, we have more Ivy League graduates per capita than anywhere inside of America. And yet the towns are canceling the 4th of July because they can't afford the fireworks. What the hell is going on here? I mean, really, what is going on here? And, you know, I may have said this earlier. During financial crisis, right? During any financial crisis, multiple states will dig into this pension fund, okay? And they just end up pushing it out. And of course, there's probably some financial repercussions to that. Like I said, whether it be inflation or maybe there's, some kind of interest or something like that. But to do it during a time where there's no, let's say, visible crisis, I think there's a problem. I think we are truly in some kind of crisis here. When you have multiple towns that are looking for budget overrides, or, overrides in there and of itself, not budget overrides, but to tax your taxpayers even more money just to make yourself whole, there's a problem. When you spend $4 billion plus on emergency shelter and having all these people come into this state that are living, the majority are living off of the state government. And meanwhile, on the other hand, you have businesses and high earners leaving the state, or just people in general leaving the state, it's a problem. When you have state employees, like what happened at MassDOT with the overtime, do you think that they're claiming to work, 150 hours a week because they want to? No, it's more than likely because they have to. I'm not saying that what those people did at MassDOT was a good thing, but what happens is people just don't care. The administration there at MassDOT just doesn't care. The state government just doesn't care. The cost of energy has skyrocketed since 2014, and Healey, well, maybe not the arbiter of the inception of the energy going higher. She carried the torches to get to the point where we're at today. So, I mean, you could have, I could go on forever. I don't want to make this video 20 minutes long, but the fact is, we have more stacked against us than for us. That's what's going on here. This is why people don't want to move here, or let's say stay here. Yes, people move here, but they do not stay here. That is a problem. We are not attracting talent. And to incentivize, venture capital money to people that are going to leave anyway, so that they probably become your political donors, you're buying private sector jobs, basically, just so that you stay in some form of power. You really think that's the answer, guys? I don't think so. If if you were a state employee, union, whatever it may be, you guys should be pissed off as hell that this is actually happening. If I was, I sure as hell would be. You guys should be the loudest people. You should be outside of the state house every single day in regards to this. That's what you should be doing, because you need to remember one thing. Without any kind of pressure, okay? Without any kind of pressure on the state government here, they will continue to run unchecked. The local media, outside of a couple organizations, are going to do any level of mental gymnastics to try to figure out a way to capitalize on this and say it's a good thing. I'm here to tell you that this doesn't look good. Statistically, it doesn't look good. Theoretically, it doesn't look good. It's just not good overall. Okay, that's it. I'm going to end the video here.